So whenever you go next, please let me know.
Sure, sure.
Even I'll join. So yeah.
Okay, I think we have people joining in. Let's start.
Sure.
Great. So everybody who's watching this live, or if you are watching this on YouTube, welcome. And this is another edition of our Pro Talk. And I am Gaurav Tripathi, co-founder, CEO of Super Pro, your host for Pro Talks as always. And today I have another amazing Super Pro from our Super Pros. It's Sampat Chari, who has been in. I'm sure he'll share his journey, of course. But as I see it, the journey has been very exciting. So I
Yeah.
won't give a spoiler here. But yes, he is a creative guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's a screenwriter. A lot many things packed together in one. And today we are going to know more about him, his journey, and what makes him tick, and what's he up to.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
So
Thank
Sampat.
you. Thank you, Gaurav, for having me. First of all, congratulations on Super Pro AI. I don't really think that there have been a lot of people who have done a lot of creative, productive work in times like these. So congratulations to the entire team for getting it done. And I really look forward to a lot of sessions from your head.
Thank you.
Talking about me, my journey. I started off as a marine engineer. I come from Raipur. I studied in BITS Pilani. I started as a marine engineer, and from marine engineering, the money that I got from there, I started investing in short films. I made my own short films with my own production house. It was called Planet C Productions in Raipur. We made, like, over a span of 2.5 years, we made almost 15 short films, which got screened in 7 festivals. Multiple awards and stuff like that. And then, as one would expect, I lost all my money, and then I came to Mumbai. So yeah. So basically, I came to Mumbai. I worked in Shemaroo as a creative executive, and then I moved to Roy Kapoor Films. So those are the major beats of my journey so far. There've been a lot of things in the middle, like I've been into advertisement for some time, then went into documentary filmmaking, a lot of other stuff, government, the projects that you get. So these are the other things that I have done. But the major beat sheet, it starts with Merchant Navy, then goes into short films, then to Shimaro, and then finally to Roy Kapoor Films. So I've written for TV, I've written for web, I've written for theatricals. I've been on both the sides of the table. I've been a creative executive, and I've been a writer. So it's been a fascinating journey, and finally now I'm on Super Pro. So too good. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, and we'll talk about it as we go ahead in this conversation.
Great, great.
Yeah.
I think now I'm sure people are also intrigued. It's like, so
Yeah.
being an engineer, what
Yeah.
made you? What hit you, or what bug bit you really? What made you move from engineering to creative altogether?
To be honest, I became an engineer because I wanted to make films.
Wow.
Because at that time, what used to happen is I was in merchant navy. So people who understand marine engineering a bit, they know कि merchant navy में पैसा बहुत है. So once you become a marine engineer, you get a decent salary in while you're working. So I always aspired to use all that salary of mine into making films. Now I didn't really know कि कितना मिलता है क्या मिलता है, but I wanted to become an engineer because I wanted to make films. And वो marine engineering specifically, मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा मेरे को पता नहीं था. I didn't know anything about marine engineering, but all I knew was it gives you good money. So it's better you go there, earn some money, save something, and start making your own stuff. So I think because at those time, like I'm talking about 2010, 11, like 10 years back. uh, अभी भी नहीं है वैसे, बट वहाँ उस समय रायपुर में इतना ज़्यादा फंडिंग के ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल नहीं थे. लाइक I read that you are an angel investor, but we didn't really have that concept of investing in films or investing in short films for that matter at that point of time. So मेरे को इतना तो पता था खुद के पैसे कमा के ही बनाना पड़ेगा. So I would say that's why I became a marine engineer. Uh, I और कोई engineer बन पाता नहीं बन पाता, I don't really know, but that's the reason I went into merchant navy to earn money and to make movies. Uh, bug तो बहुत पहले से था, मतलब I don't remember from what time I love films, but bug तो पहले से काटा हुआ था. ये engineering मेरा side में चल रहा था. This was my main thing I wanted to do. Yeah.
Wow. So you always had an end in mind that, yeah, this is what you're going to ultimately, and marine
Yeah.
engineering was a way, was a mean to get
Yeah.
to that. And good,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
great.
yeah. So that it was,
Uh,
yeah, it was something like that. I wanted to make films, and that's why I did engineering rather than vice versa. That वहाँ जाके मैंने अपना passion discover नहीं किया, discover किया हुआ था. फिर मैं I could have done something else. Now when I think about it, I could have done something, but I don't really know वो कितना आगे हो पाता. That's something which I don't really know what would have happened. But yeah,
but again, going back to
yeah,
this itself,
yeah,
so you said the bug pehle se tha, yeah.
हाँ, yeah.
But where, when did you realize? When did you have that realization? Yes, I want to make movies. So because a lot of people, yes, are interested. So
Yeah.
even I'm interested in creative, but yeah, I can't think of like I start making something. Yes, I love being a part of the process. I
Yeah.
love watching something. But when did you realize that you want to make these movies?
See, I'll tell you, when I got fascinated by the whole concept of cinema, right? There's this film, I don't remember if you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Fir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani.
Yeah.
It's a Shah Rukh Khan movie, and I think that was the first film I ever watched in theater. I was 8 or 9 years that time. Yeah, it released in 2000 something, 99 2000 के आसपास film release हुई थी. And if you have seen the film, the first scene is Shah Rukh Khan jumping off that building. Like you have that bomb that is the bomb thing that is going on. He has to defuse the bomb and he jumps off the building. और फिर उसके बाद it cuts to that song. It's the फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी का title track that plays. You know, uh, and उसमें ना शाहरुख खान का पहले नाम आता है, फिर कास्ट का पूरा नाम आता है, एंड एट द एंड यू हैव दिस अजीज मिर्जा डायरेक्टेड इट. सो उसमें ना एंड में नाम आता है डायरेक्टेड बाय अजीज मिर्जा, एंड देन यू हैव दिस ढैंड है, like that sound comes and Aziz Mirza उनका नाम आता है उसमें. So I sort of knew कि यार ये कोई important इंसान है. While I was watching it in the theater, like I knew कि यार इनका नाम ना बहुत धमाके से आता है धड़ाम करके. So I think he's an important guy in the film,
Okay.
right? So then I asked my, and उस समय यार you don't know anything,
Yeah.
मेरे लिए वो शाहरुख खान ही थे. Like शाहरुख खान ही फिल्म में उन्हीं की पिक्चर है, वही गाना भी गा रहे, सब चीज वही
Yeah.
कर रहे. You don't know anything, right?
Right.
So I asked my mom, I asked my parents. I don't really remember that moment as such कि क्या हुआ था, but I would have asked something like this कि ये क्या है ये करके. Like who is this guy जिसका नाम इतना इम्पोर्टेंस से दिया जा रहा है, या धड़ाम करके खाली इन्हीं के उसमें म्यूजिक आता है. Probably उन्होंने बोला होगा डायरेक्टर है जो फिल्म बनाता है. Then what I started actually doing was, that time PowerPoint was something which was new. PowerPoint presentations जो थे ना वो नए हुआ
Okay.
करते थे.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I used to do was only the casting. Like I used to write the cast और उसका PPT बनाता था मैं. Like
Wow.
so I started, like I have a brother, तो मैं अपने माँ मम्मी का नाम डालूंगा पहले, फिर डालूंगा पापा का नाम, so I used to make all those slides कि ये म्यूजिक दिया, ये किया, ये किया, एंड एंड में मैं वो पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन में धुड़ुम पीछे का इफेक्ट, आई न्यू हाउ टू पुट इट. आई यूज्ड टू पुट दैट धुड़ुम एंड पुट माय नेम, like directed by Sampat Chari. And I used to get that kick, यार बोला यार ये सही चीज है, मतलब if this is what I have to do, like it's great, you know. So and after that we just kept on watching films, watching movies. I've never been to a film school. I don't know how that magic is created, but there was magic. Like the first time I saw फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, उसके बाद मैंने उस फिल्म को उस तरीके से कभी नहीं देखा. Like that was, I was in awe of that film. Like today people don't even remember कि यार ये क्या, it's probably one of SRK's lesser films. I mean, but that experience created that magic for me. I think it was 98 or something. बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है यार. मैं बोला यार ऐसा कुछ अगर करने मिले. उसके बाद फिर and my mother, my parents actually, they love movies, so we have been in a movie theater. हम वो commercial cinema देखते ही आ रहे हैं हम लोग.
Wow.
Yeah, so everybody in my family loves films. So we have been into we go वो theater जाना आना लगा रहता है. And somewhere I think that's where it struck me कि यार And music, like the
Hmm.
you know the effect that music has on you. I've learned music और उसका कैसे application किया जाता है. It's subconsciously somewhere it just hit me कि यार ये करने लायक चीज है. you know
Wow.
और मुझे ये नहीं पता था इसमें इतने पैसे लगते हैं. वो मुझे बाद में पता चला. Like
Yeah,
I didn't know. Yeah,
I can relate to this. So I have a
yeah,
little story on this
yeah,
part. Right?
yeah,
So in building my last venture, when we looked at the problem statement and everything, so what we said, yeah, so pharma, so we were helping big pharmaceutical companies in last venture to help them cut down the time and effort on drug development. Now,
yeah,
very geeky topic and technical
yeah,
topic, but to us it was simple. Okay, what do they do? From our perspective, it was that yeah, there is a lot of data.
yeah,
Okay, how much would it be? Is it okay? Hoga, it will be a lot. Okay, what to do? Yeah, we'll do this, and then probably we can do. Okay, and we said, yeah, let's go ahead, let's do it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Honestly, if I had even an iota of an idea that
yeah,
how this is how difficult this is going to be, and this is how, like, whatever we said will be done in an year, it actually took us roughly 3 years to get there. If I would
yeah.
have known, I would have not even started. So yeah, I can completely relate to it. Really.
True. Yeah, yeah. See, because also while I started making movies, like in 2013-14, when we actually started shooting films, we thought वो इतना मुश्किल था नहीं, because the generation which was behind us, they had used like real cameras that was much more in
Yeah.
terms of investment, that it was huge. Yeah. So that was that it we I'm sort of I developed that passion in that transition period where it was coming from analog to digital. Like people stopped using these real cameras, the film stopped,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
shifted
Yeah.
to digital.
Yes.
And luckily for me, by the time I started making films, it had already transitioned completely into digital. So I could give my movies on YouTube. I could just add things up and do various screenings. So I think it was much more easier for us to follow it rather than people who were before us. So in a way, it also helped me understand, all these things. कि यार कितना मुश्किल हो सकता था, because that is a very important element of it. कि आप कर रहे हो तो ठीक है, बट ये इतना मुश्किल हुआ करता था किसी जमाने में, so you better do it correctly. You know, आपके पहले लोगों ने बहुत मेहनत की है इसके लिए. So if you're getting something so easily, you better do it right. That was the whole idea behind it. So yeah,
But
that's how I.
when you
Yeah,
decided to jump into it, how did you go about it? And if you can share with us, what's the process? As you said, yeah, you didn't know when, of course, as a child. But
yeah.
what's the process? Is there a process
So
to
no.
filmmaking and what it is? How do you get started with story, producer, director? How
Yeah.
does it happen?
So I'll talk about my this thing. Luckily for me, I was in Raipur. Now people लोगों को ना ये हमेशा लगता है कि छोटे जगह से हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते, ये सारी चीजें नहीं हो पाती. You have to come to Mumbai. You have to do your stuff here. Luckily for me, I was in Raipur and I got some really super people to work with. I started with theater, and there I met a lot of actors. Actors who are still very good friends of mine. Some of them I can actually see them here in the list. Some of them have actually joined us. Like they're super people जिनसे मैं मिला. उनके पास वो पैशन था कि यार करते हैं करते करते. वी स्टार्टेड विद थिएटर. थिएटर किया, एक दो शोज किए, नहीं क्रैक हुआ, नहीं यार मजा नहीं आ रहा करके फिल्म करना है. देन वी सेड ओके चलो फिल्म करते हैं. वी डिडंट हैव कैमरा, वी डिडंट नो एनीथिंग बेटर, मतलब कुछ आइडिया ही नहीं कैसे क्या करना है करके. आई सेड इट स्टार्ट्स विद द स्टोरी, दैट्स फॉर श्योर. इट हैज टू स्टार्ट विद अ स्टोरी. कैसी स्टोरी है, क्या स्टोरी, आई डोंट रियली नो, बट लेट्स जस्ट. सो उस समय ना बहुत सारी फिल्में टॉरेंट्स में अवेलेबल होती थी.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
अभी भी है. सो या, तो हम लोग ना वो डाउनलोड कर लेते थे. लाइक आई एम सेइंग दिस, आई एम आई डोंट नो इफ आई एम अलाउड टू डू सो, बट टॉरेंट से हम डाउनलोड करते थे. वी यूज्ड टू वॉच, आई यूज्ड टू वॉच दिस फिल्म्स एंड आई सेड कि यार मुझे ना ये सीन बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है इस फिल्म का. या देयर इज दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग दैट आई रियली लाइक अबाउट दिस फिल्म. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल देयर इज वन सीन इन, फॉर एग्जांपल अ साउथ कोरियन फिल्म मेमोरीज ऑफ मर्डर. यार ये सीन बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. इस सीन ऐसा कुछ लिखते हैं जिसके थ्रू ना ये सीन हम फिल्म में डाल सके. And if I'm able to do this correctly, then I think first step is done. तो वो ना वो रहता था कि आप एक पर्टिकुलर फिल्म के एक सीन से बहुत इंस्पायर हो जाते हो. देन आई यूज्ड टू लिव इन रायपुर. देयर वर लॉट ऑफ स्टोरीज अराउंड मी. न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते थे, ये सारी चीजें करते थे. देन वी यूज्ड टू फिगर आउट कि यार चलो ये कहानी अच्छी लग रही है, लेट्स राइट अ स्क्रिप्ट जिसमें हम कुछ ऐसा सीन डाल सके, कुछ ऐसी गिमिक्स कर सके. एंड इट वाज ऑल अबाउट गिमिक्स फॉर अस. फॉर मी इट वाज नेवर अबाउट सिंपल स्टोरी टेलिंग. लाइक आई डोंट नो इफ इट्स द राइट वे टू डू इट, और मुझे तो किसी ने बताया नहीं था. बट फॉर मी इट वाज ऑल अबाउट थिंग्स दैट गॉट मी एक्साइटेड इन सिनेमा. राइट. एंड इट वाज ऑलवेज अबाउट फ्लैशी कैमरा वर्क, लाइक कूल इफेक्ट्स और ये सारी चीजें. दैट इज व्हाट एक्साइटेड मी इनटू फिल्म्स. एंड सो आई वांटेड टू डू दोज थिंग्स इन माय मूवीज. अगर मैं शॉर्ट फिल्म करता भी तो मुझे ये सारी चीजें करनी थी. तो हम लोग फिर एक कहानी लिखते थे कि यार चलो ये थोड़ा थोड़ा कहानी है, यू हैव दिस थिंग. एंड देन व्हाट हैपेंड वाज आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ बुक्स ऑन फिल्म मेकिंग. नॉट रियली फ्रॉम फिल्म स्कूल. आई हैड सम फ्रेंड्स इन फिल्म स्कूल, उनसे मैंने बोला यार स्क्रीन राइटिंग में कोई बुक है क्या. एंड उस टाइम पे रायपुर में सिंस इट वाज ग्रेजुअली डेवलपिंग, इट वाज ग्रेजुअली गेटिंग दैट टेस्ट ऑफ मेकिंग मूवीज, तो वहाँ पर वर्कशॉप बहुत होते थे. So you had
Oh,
experts who
wow.
had come in, yeah, experts who came in, gave these sessions for 5 to 6 hours का वो सेशन देते थे. उसके बाद आप थोड़ा थोड़ा आइडिया हो जाता था कि हाँ ये तो एलिमेंट्स होने चाहिए स्क्रीन प्ले में. देन आई स्टार्टेड राइटिंग माई ओन स्टफ. वंस यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग योर ओन स्टफ यू फील यार ये सही हो रहा है, गलत हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. देन जो भी हम लिखते थे, देन वी यूज्ड टू डिस्कस विद द एक्टर्स. और जितने मेरे साथ एक्टर्स थे, वी आई रिमेंबर वी स्टार्टेड विद 5 एक्टर्स. एंड बाय द टाइम आई लेफ्ट रायपुर वी वर 40. Like it was a massive team back then.
Amazing,
So
amazing.
that's how we started in 2013. By the end of 2017 we were 40. लोग आते गए, बनती गई फिल्में. We started with one film which took me 1 year to make, and then we started in 2 years we made 14. तो ऐसा ऐसा चलता था. So yeah. So once that screenplay happened, my first screenplay happened. और मैं ना बहुत फॉर्मेट से लिखता था, मैं उसको मतलब रफली नहीं लिखता था. The way I used to read it on the internet, there are a lot of screenplays that are available on internet. तो पल्प फिक्शन पढ़ लिए, कभी शिंडलर्स लिस्ट पढ़ लिया, तो ये सारे ऑनलाइन अवेलेबल होती थी. तो आई यूज टू रीड देम अ लॉट, रीड स्क्रीन प्लेज अ लॉट, और उनसे मैं देखते कि यार ये अच्छा लग रहा है पढ़ने में, ऐसा कुछ हम लोग लिख सकते हैं क्या. देन आई स्टार्टेड राइटिंग like these. I did some terrible job in the beginning, but I would say कि attempt तो किया था. So we started with that. There was this one screenplay that I wrote. It was called Zero. और ना उस समय ये भी होता था कि उस हिसाब से नहीं होता था कि मेरा स्क्रीन प्ले कैसा, उसके हिसाब से एक्टर और लोकेशन लेंगे. मुझे पता था मेरे पास ये 2 लोकेशन है, मेरे पास यही 5 एक्टर्स है, मुझे जो लिखना है इन्हीं के हिसाब से लिखना है. So we had to keep that cost control in mind as well कि हम लोग जबरदस्ती नहीं फैल सकते. Don't write something which you can't shoot. So we started with that. And
Makes sense.
that's how I actually started writing my first screenplay. And by the time it ended, I gave it to my actors. Everybody read it. Everybody said, "हाँ चल करते हैं करके." We didn't know it's going to be that difficult. We didn't even have a camera. वो camera भी घर पे मिला हमको. One of my friends gave me that camera. It was a handy cam, छोटा सा handy cam. I got that. उससे फिर we started shooting. और शूटिंग में भी वहाँ जब हम when we reached the spot, when we went to a location and we understood shooting कि यार नहीं यार फिल्म में तो ये दो अगर लगा है तो दो अलग अलग शॉट लेने पड़ेंगे. Like it has to be that way. It's like, when you see something तो आपको पता नहीं होता कि इसके पीछे और क्या क्या करना पड़ेगा एक्चुअली आपको. So that's how we learned in the job. Like that one film that I made, it was a 24-minute long film. It was terrible. it was such a bad movie. But I learned so much in it. मतलब इतना सारा सीखा मैंने. एंड वी डिडंट गो फॉर अ सिंपल स्टोरी लाइन. मतलब नहीं एक लड़का लड़की कमरे में बैठे, नहीं, वी वोंट गो फॉर दैट. वी विल गो आउट. हम लोग जितना पुश कर सकते हैं विल पुश इट. एंड दैट्स वेयर द कोऑपरेशन ऑफ माय एक्टर्स रियली केम इनटू प्ले. दैट दे वर एबल टू कंप्लीटली सरेंडर, सेइंग कि चल यार करते हैं. Most of them they started with their daily wage workers. बहुत सारे उनमें ऐसा था जिनका रोज का जो दिहाड़ी जिसको कहते हैं वैसा होता था. कई दुकान थी, वो बेचारे दुकान छोड़ के आते थे, चलो यार यहाँ पर लोकेशन है, शूट करना है. यू स्टार्ट
Wow.
शूटिंग एट 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. चलो यार वी डोंट हैव लाइट्स, क्या करेंगे, चलो चलते हैं. यू हैव दैट गोल्डन आवर एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. तो वो सारी चीजें करते करते दैट्स हाउ वी एक्चुअली लर्नड इन द जॉब. That's how we started. वो so this was more or less the process of it. Like writing your first screenplay, then getting actors, reading the entire thing, and then moving ahead with it. with whatever लिमिटेड मनी यू हैड, लाइक वो भी एक चीज था उसमें कि भाई पैसे किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलने वाले हैं, ये समझ जाओ, और अभी जितना है करके, बट इट्स ग्रेट दैट पीपल believed in me in that sense. They started working with me together. We started editing in वो Windows वाला जो सॉफ्टवेयर आता था. We
Yeah.
edited the entire thing in two parts because we didn't know Premiere Pro और ये सारी जो बड़े बड़े सॉफ्टवेयर that we started using at later stage. So that's how we started. Like we just started. हमको पता नहीं था क्या होने वाला है, कैसे होने वाला है. We just gave it completely. We just surrendered saying कि चलो ठीक है, 5 लोग हैं, एक कैमरा है, कुछ एडिटिंग वेडिटिंग थोड़ा बहुत आ जाता है, इधर उधर से काट पीट के कुछ कर सकते हैं, लेट्स मेक इट, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. सो दैट्स हाउ एक्चुअली इट वेंट, राम भरोसे. फिर बाद में धीरे धीरे आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग मोर बुक्स, आई स्टार्टेड अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बेसिक नुआंस ऑफ स्क्रीन प्ले राइटिंग. वो अभी भी नहीं बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आता, बट हैविंग सेड सो वो इट वाज क्लियर इनफ कि बनाना कैसे है फिल्मों को, एंड वी लर्नड इट इन द जॉब, while doing it. Is my network this thing?
So I think there was a momentary disconnect.
Super.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
So
back.
that is how we started. You know.
No, amazing. This is, I think, I'm sure you haven't mentioned it, but in all of this, how I see it is, in the end, uh, the most important story would have been that what you would have told these guys, that they believed in you and they believed in this vision, that okay, there is something which we'll be able to do, and that's how everybody came together.
And even today I'm surprised. I have no idea मैंने उनको क्या बोला था. I have no idea why they trusted me. I just feel so overwhelmed at times कि यार अगर ये नहीं होते तो कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आता मुझे तो. Like I can't believe that these actors, they actually trusted me saying कि चल यार हम करेंगे आके काम तेरे साथ.
Hmm.
There was no pep talk that I ever gave them कि यार चलो 70 मिनट है, ये बना के दिखाएंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. There was not even a mention कि हम फेस्टिवल में जाएंगे. Like today I meet a lot of people who say कि अब नेटफ्लिक्स के लिए फिल्म बना रहे हैं. Now if you know, Netflix doesn't really make a film like that. वो ऐसा नहीं होता. You start making it and then commissioning, बहुत सारी चीजें होती है उसमें. अब ऐसा कोई झूठा दिलासा भी नहीं था. We just said कि यार चलो ना, what do we have to lose? Like that was the whole idea कि क्या ही है करने के लिए. And then my family got involved. वो सारी चीजें घर पे खाना बनता था और वो सारे. So it was fun, yeah. Like I miss those days of making films. Uh, if there is some way that I can actually get them back into doing this, like they are ready of course, but it's just that after a point आपको लगता है कि यार कब तक बिना पैसे दिए काम कराओगे, वो वाली चीज आ जाती
True,
है.
true.
So I think but even today I miss those times. Yeah. It was mind blowing. No pep, nothing यार, nothing. वो बस आ गए. क्यों आए आज भी मैं पूछता हूँ, मेरे को नहीं पता क्यों आए. What they believed in me, what was that, I don't
Yeah.
really know. It was a story, I don't know. Yeah, I really have no idea.
Wow.
I was probably talking wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, I think then it will be simpler to say all the startups are like this. Whether it's a startup is a company organization, or whether it's
True.
something which you are doing, even a film making making a movie itself. In that startup, yeah, you just need a bunch of crazy guys coming together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the bunch kept on increasing. Yeah, it's just that mad trust that you have in people. It's just that, and love for the art. I would say that is one of the bigger motivations. I would say that just the love of making something together, just the love of creating something together. Because as I told, we never really made films with 2 people, 3 people. वैसा नहीं होता था. I always like my
Hmm.
people around me. There has to be fun, and it's a movie. Yeah, like मेरे लिए टेंशन लेने के लिए मेरे पास engineering था. Movie has to be fun. Like making films have to be. It has to be a crazy experience, and I think that is what वो माहौल हम बना पाते थे उसमें. रायपुर में हम वो माहौल बना पाते थे. And I think वो बहुत important है. Even today, when I get a lot of messages कि how does one start, I say just start. Like if you are in a small place, there is nothing better than that.
Wow.
if you are in a आप एक छोटे जगह में शुरुआत करते हो, there is nothing better than that. You know, it will work out. It will just work out.
But now, how do you say? So if let's say I have story
Yeah.
and I want to approach a producer, does it work like that or?
It does. So what happens is, this is a completely different scenario. This is not a regional film scenario. Like we didn't approach a producer, right? Because we were producing our own films. We were creating our own stuff. So I used to write. I used to go to actors. सब हम साथ में बैठते थे, and we used to shoot our film. So that was it was not really approaching a producer at that point. Uh, Approaching a producer यहाँ होता है. It's a more studio thing. It's a more Mumbai thing कि you have a great story
Hmm.
and you want to pitch it to a producer. That's called a pitching session. Like you have in startups कि मेरे पास एक idea है, I want to pitch.
Right.
Now it's very important to understand that किस stage पे pitch करना है. Like कई लोग एक आइडिया लेके चले जाते हैं उड़ता हुआ कि यार ये ख्याल आया चलते हैं करके. Now you have to understand that getting a studio in Mumbai, getting a meeting with a studio person in Mumbai, it's a very difficult job. Like वो बहुत मुश्किल से मिलता है. So you better be prepared for it. And that is what my sessions in Super Pro are going to be all about. Like how because I've been a studio executive, I know things like कि what do I expect when somebody comes to me with a script.
Hmm.
What do I expect? What do I do? I won't just read a script like तुम मेरे पास script लेके आओगे. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll read it, and it doesn't work like that. uh, you know so what exactly does one do in that pitching stage? That is what my session is going to be about. And we learned this because we used to get these pitches in Raipur also कि बहुत सारे हमारे friends आके बोलते थे यार संपत ये picture बनाते हैं हम लोग करके. Like what the decisions we took back then, that is helping me today in making decisions for a Shemaroo or a Roy Kapoor film and stuff like that. Like you
Wow.
know doing all that. So I think वो बहुत important है. What do you present? What do you pitch a producer? That's the most important. I've been a producer, I've been a script writer, and then I've been a creative studio executive. Like
Right.
बहुत अलग अलग चीज है. So I think that is the experience. It's a rather elaborate thing to talk about, and that is something which I would like to actually share in my super pro sessions in consecutive days to come. You know, and it's a very professional Bombay film industry kind of a thing. It doesn't happen like that in in the regional space.
Right.
And by regional, I don't even mean Bhojpuri, Tamil, Telugu, like some profit-making region. वैसा वाला नहीं है. Like Raipur is a complete, it's a zero ROI kind of an
Yeah.
industry where you just put in money and you don't really have a lot of ROIs. Not to blame any of them, but that's the way that industry.
Yeah, that's how it
It's in
is.
it's in its nascent stages.
Yeah.
It will take some time to come up.
True.
So yeah.
So now that you moved into the industry, yeah,
Uh,
and you started
yeah.
working with these the big studios and these guys,
Yeah.
what did you learn? So, what is it around the scripting process, budgeting, or
Yeah.
creative process itself? What are the different phases, steps, whatever?
So I'll tell you what I learned came actually a bit later. It was more what I applied rather
Mhm.
what I'd learned from before. मैंने उस पे apply क्या किया था. Like when you are a studio executive, one thing is a very important. One thing that really dictates everything is the process of I would say the budget of a particular script. Like you can't just say, and especially in times like these, like COVID, these times have been unprecedented. Like ऐसा
Yes,
कभी हुआ नहीं है.
true.
And whatever you have learned in the past, you have to unlearn it right now. कि
Yeah.
ये ऐसा ऐसा आपने कभी देखा ही नहीं है लाइफ में भाई, ये कुछ नया ही चीज आया है. you know
Yeah.
and you movies have never been budgeted the way it is right now. They have been never produced the way it is right now. I recently saw a film, See You Soon. It's in Amazon now. That's a film on a mobile phone. Like they've recorded. It's a screen like searching.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
screen. Now, how do you budget a film like that? Right?
Hmm.
How do you do that? Like you don't have shooting days, you don't have people who have come in. So how do you do that? Now, this is the process you learn in the like this is something you learn in the process of making films itself.
Hmm.
Right. But one thing that I learned a lot, especially in Shimano, like you need to work on really tighter budgets there. Like it's a studio because it's a production house of itself, and we were creating our own content there, right? So in Shemaroo, if you say you make your own stuff there. So while I was writing in Shemaroo, I had to keep in mind कि यार ये budget इससे ज़्यादा नहीं जाना चाहिए, ये लोकेशन इससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए, एक्टर इससे ज़्यादा हम नहीं पुल इन कर सकते, बिकॉज वो बैठेगा नहीं, इट डजंट रियली सिट इन दैट लॉजिक. नाउ people who know a little bit about screenwriting would say कि this method is wrong. कि यार ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है कि आप स्क्रिप्ट को बजट के हिसाब से कैसे लिख सकते हो, बट actually when you come to Mumbai, that's the way it has to be done. Like especially with especially in television, like
Hmm.
some of them really work on a very very tight budget and schedule. So you can't just go overboard saying कि नहीं मैं 4 लोकेशन ये भी लूंगा ये भी लूंगा ये भी लूंगा and I'll make an inception. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. There are some constraints that you have to keep. There are some limitations that you have to keep in mind. क्योंकि सामने वाला भी गलत नहीं है, they have their own model, they have their own understanding of the commercial, and they are coming from there, and you have to respect that. You can't just say कि यार नहीं ये मेरे creativity को दबा रहा है. आपकी creativity तभी बढ़ती है जब आपके पैसे काट दिए जाते हैं. You are the most creative when you don't have money to make things.
Yeah.
तो आई
Good,
थिंक
good.
वो चीज एक ध्यान में रखना, एंड दैट आई लर्न फ्रॉम रायपुर, दैट आई लर्न फ्रॉम मेकिंग फिल्म्स देयर, जहाँ पर पैसे नहीं होते और आपको फिर भी बनाना है. So I think that is a big learning while you are writing a script, especially for somebody who's starting new in the industry, going for making his own films there. आपको बजट तो बहुत कंट्रोल करके चलना पड़ेगा. So do your, there has to be a balance that you have to keep there. You can't just आप फैल नहीं सकते जबरदस्ती उसमें. So this is what I actually learned, and I applied in an institution like that. Whereas the other, whereas films are concerned, like in a film, budgeting is it's a very complicated this thing. You have an EP, you have a line producer, like they all do the main stuff there. But I was more in control of uh, taking scripts, yeah, commissioning them. So it was more for me. It was more that, so I wasn't really dealing with the budgets in Roy Kapoor films. Like I was dealing with scripts, I was dealing with stories that make me excited about and then I would pitch it to Sid, Siddharth, and then we will take it forward. So that is how we actually that was my profile in Roy Kapoor films. I dealt very less with budgets, so that was not really my area there. Shimharo, yeah, so you had to deal with a lot of things. So yeah, so this is mota mota what I had learned from there. And हाँ यार मजेदार तो है. That's a great process in itself. Once you burn your hands in it, तब फिर समझ में आता है कि बहुत सारी चीजें थी जो मिस कर गए. So yeah.
Oh, I'm amazed at how whatever you are saying is so much aligned and true for a startup in general. The
Yeah.
thing about you get creative when you are constrained,
Yeah.
it fits perfectly in a startup as well, because there you're always constrained.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where, and I've seen personally experienced it, that yes, when you are under pressure and you are constrained, that's
Yeah.
when you will come up with something, which will be mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah, and see, it would have been very easy for us to get money and say कि यार नहीं चलो अब एलियन उतार लाते हैं, but we won't be able to handle that money, right? वो हैंडल करने के लिए भी it has to be a gradual process. कि अगर से एकदम से आपको मुझे कोई सामने से बोल देता कि यार ले
Yeah.
10 करोड़ ले पिक्चर बना, I won't be able to do it. Like I'll be shaking. Well, ये क्या हो गया? अब मैं करूँगा क्या इस पैसे का? For everything has to be, even spending money has to be a gradual understanding. You can't just spend money like anything कि हाँ ये भी खरीद लो वो भी खरीद लो ये भी कर लो वो भी कर लो, then you will be left with nothing. So I think even that it has to come with a certain understanding of how an expenditure is, right? How does a hierarchy of filmmaking works in the production stage. And today I'm very I would say I can really understand the producer. Like I can't really say कि यार नहीं आप गलत बोल रहे हो. I can't do that because I can understand where he's coming from, what are his constraints. And it's very important, if you have to sustain in an industry like this, you have to understand everyone. You can't just be adamant saying कि नहीं मेरे को तो यही करना है बाकी जो हो देखा जाएगा करके. You can't do that, right? And it's not your money, because if somebody is entrusting you with your vision, भाई उसके पैसे में करके दो. And I think a lot of that comes with preparation. What am I going to shoot, right? So for example, if I'm making a film,
Hmm.
what am I going to shoot? मैं खाली screen पे लेके नहीं जाता. I do complete storyboarding of the entire thing. बिकॉज अगेन रायपुर में खुद का पैसा लगा तो हाथ जलते थे अब निकालने में ना, कि अभी क्या है, होटल मिला 2 घंटे के लिए, फटाफट जितना शूट कर सकते करके निकालो। अभी कैसे शूट करना है ये तो अब वहाँ इतने तो अब ऐसे जीनियस तो है नहीं कि वहाँ जाके स्टेज में बोले कि नहीं यहाँ लगा कैमरा वहाँ लगा हो गया करके। आई यूज्ड टू प्रिपेयर लाइक 3 days बिफोर, स्टोरी बोर्ड किया, एक एक फ्रेम, एक एक कपड़ों का डिजाइन, वी गॉट एवरीथिंग देयर। लाइक वो हम प्रॉपरली करते थे, वो प्रेपरेशन हमारा प्रॉपर होता था। वी वेंट टू अ होटल जो 2 घंटे के लिए मिला हुआ, वी नीड टू टेक 80 शॉट्स, वील टेक 80 शॉट्स। बट वो प्रिपेयर्ड होते थे हम लोग कि ये भाई ये शॉट्स में ये लोग रहेंगे, ये नहीं दिखने वाला है, इसको जाने दो। क्योंकि अगेन इट्स अबाउट टाइम मैनेजमेंट ऑल्सो, राइट? इट्स नॉट जस्ट कि सबको लेके चले गए कर लेते करके, बिकॉज देर इज अ कंप्लीट डे ऑफ शूट। यू हैव टू मैनेज लंच, यू हैव टू मैनेज एवरीथिंग, राइट? तो वो सारी चीजें हम लोग को करनी है, तो यू कांट जस्ट से कि, सो वन हैज टू बी वेरी प्रिपेयर्ड लाइक टू द बेयर मिनिमम लेवल कि ये गड़बड़ हो जाएगा तो ये कर लेंगे यार। Like you have to, we were prepared to that extent.
Wow.
Yeah. So even our 10 minute, 20 minute short films, we had like 150 pages of storyboarding. वो रहता था कि यार ये गड़बड़ हुआ, ये कर लेंगे, ये शॉट ले लेंगे, ये कर लेंगे, and we
Sorry,
used to
can you repeat how many pages you said?
150,
Wow.
around a 150, yeah, 150 pages of storyboarding. So we had complete thing sketched. We had everything ready.
Amazing.
I never did workshops. वो actors का पहले workshop होता है यहाँ पर, मतलब I didn't do that. But उसके अलावा जो technical चीज़ों पे हम आ जाते हैं कि storyboarding, getting the costumes right, everything was super detailed. Like we didn't even, and it was not for my this thing cranky passion of making things perfect and all that. It was just to save money. It was just to make a film ताकि पैसे बच जाए यार किसी तरीके से, ताकि we can use it in some other shot, we can use it in some other this thing, and then we can go about it. And that is what helped me here also. Like the more prepared you are, the more planned you are, it becomes a very, that's a better process to go about. You can't just say कि ये शॉट ले ले, ये शॉट ले, हाँ ये अच्छा लग रहा है कर दे। क्या अच्छा लग रहा है वो आप बाद में ले लो, बट एक फ्रेमवर्क अपना तैयार रखो कि ये 80 शॉट तो मैं लूंगा ही लूंगा। इसके बाद टाइम बच गया, देन आई विल मूव अराउंड माय कैमरा वेयर एवर आई वांट टू डू। लाइक देन आई विल टेक व्हाटएवर शॉट्स आई वांट टू टेक, देन आई विल जस्ट रोम अराउंड व्हाटएवर। बट पहले ये मेरा बेसिक 80 तो हो जाना चाहिए, उसके पहले मैं नहीं जाऊंगा। सो दैट वाज द अमाउंट ऑफ डिटेलिंग दैट we learned there, making our own films, and that's what helped me here.
So it's a altogether different level of project management. Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
there.
God! Yeah. I see Suhas Bansod here. I see Dhananjay here. I see Lucky here. So ये सब मेरे टीम के हैं.
Wow.
Yeah. So Dhananjay is actually my brother. He used to do the music and everything for the film. So music, sound, score, that was his department,
Okay.
and graphic designing and stuff. That was his this thing. Suhas is of course an actor, and he was EP in most of my films. Lucky actor थे. So I think ये सब ना वो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट कुछ, एंड वी डिडंट नो इट्स कॉल्ड प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट, दैट्स द वी डिडंट नो। हमको तो ये लगता था ये सब फिल्म मेकिंग में ही आता है। वो तो यहाँ आके पता चलता है कि अच्छा ये ईपी का काम एक्चुअली होता था, ये लाइन प्रोड्यूसर का काम होता था, ये किसी और का काम होता था। वो हमारे लिए तो सब हम लोग का ही काम रहता था। लाइक क्लीनिंग द, फॉर एग्जाम्पल क्लीनिंग अ रूम, लाइक गेटिंग द थिंग्स अरेंज, यू कांट जस्ट गो एंड शूट। वो एक दिन पहले जाके खुद अरेंज किया तो खुद आर्ट डायरेक्टर भी बन गए खुद ही। तो इट्स ऑल दैट, एंड बहुत मजा आता है यार उसमें, बहुत मजा आता है। इट्स सुपर फन। लाइक वंस यू हैव टू जस्ट डू इट, स्लॉग आउट एंड से कि यार चलो ये करना है किसी भी हालत में, ये शॉट ऐसा ही चाहिए, एंड एवरीबडी कम्स टुगेदर एंड जस्ट दे क्रिएट दैट, एंड इट्स क्रेजी, सुपर फन।
So I think this story deserves to be told, in a different
अरे
platform altogether. Really.
आई कैन
Yeah.
गो ऑन एंड ऑन, आई कैन गो ऑन एंड ऑन, लाइक
How
द
to make a movie? I mean, title comes to my mind. How to make a movie on a shoestring budget?
yeah. It's
Really?
not even a shoestring budget. Like some of my films have been made on a budget of 75 rupees. Like,
Wow.
वो भी 75 रुपए का हम कुछ खाने वाने का लाते थे वो, that we shot. And I'll tell you, there is this one film of ours. It's called Afar. It's a it's a film we did for a festival. You know,
Mhm.
it's on legal awareness and stuff like that. So उसमें 3 लोग हैं खाली, ठीक है, वो एक कमरे के अंदर बंद है, एंड दैट इज द ओनली फिल्म वी एक्चुअली गॉट अस द बिगेस्ट अवार्ड। वी वन अ अवार्ड और समथिंग देयर, एंड बाय दैट बजट वी वर एबल टू गेट अ sound recording system and the rig for all that camera handling and stuff. So that's how we were able to do it. जो सबसे कम खर्चे में हमारी फिल्म बनी उसने सबसे ज्यादा पैसे दिए हमको actually. Strange.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Hmm. But all of this journey, when now that you are in the glamour
Middle
city or the Bollywood and everything, what role do you think PR has played or has been playing for you?
यार बहुत है. I think that was something which we were missing in Raipur.
Mhm.
I keep on going back there because that's where the main learning is.
Of course, of course.
I think that's where the main learning, that's where the main point of the session is that I really missed PR there, and towards the end, it's very important that you actually tell people what you are doing. Right, you can do a lot of stuff. Like today, all my films they have not reached the viewership of more than 2.5 thousand. Like that's the maximum.
Hmm.
2,500 से ऊपर नहीं गए ये. Like all that sweat and blood, it just comes to 2,500. We are not making films for us. Like it's not the film that I would consume. कि मैंने क्या बनाया मैं अपने कमरे में देख के अरे वाह क्या फिल्म बनाई हमने. It's for the audience. It's for the
Sure.
people. So what we did was we started screening our own films. We started वो एक चीज हमने शुरू किया which was not really PR based but it was very बहुत slog वाला काम था वो कि we used to book a theater, we used to say कि invites भेजते थे लोगों को कि आओ देखो फिल्में हमारी. And then we started this whole session where we would screen our own films.
Oh, interesting.
We would like 4 people would gather कि मेरे पास ये पिक्चर है मेरे पास ये मेरे पास ये करके 4 फिल्में हम बनाते थे. Every time luckily for us we had some good guests with us, and then we started making those films. Then we started projecting those films in those movie theaters. That actually got us a bit of the upper hand saying कि अब लोगों को पता था कि हम कुछ कर रहे हैं वहाँ पर.
Hmm.
Like YouTube, we are not YouTubers. Like I'm not a new YouTuber. I don't really call myself a YouTuber because वहाँ से हमारा viewership नहीं है. My viewership is with the people जिनके लिए फिल्म बनी है. Right. I am not somebody who say कि यार नहीं ये फेस्टिवल में जाएगी और जिनके लिए बनी है वो वही ना देख पाए. सो इट वाज मोर दैट लाइक इट इज मेड फॉर द पीपल ऑफ रायपुर. इट इज मेड फॉर द आम जनता टू कंज्यूम. Let's take it out to them. For me that was the most important thing, and that was something which was missing at one point of time. We started screening but it's not something that has yet developed to that extent saying कि नहीं यार अब PR मशीनरी स्ट्रांग है. लेट्स जस्ट आप एक फिल्म डालोगे और वो व्यूअरशिप ले लेगी. It doesn't happen like that even today. And I think that's a general thing with short films overall कि वो जो there are some beautiful short films that are out there, but अभी recently बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे reviewers ने उनको they have started taking them out, they have started showing them, so some film festivals show them. अब वो धीरे धीरे वो short films को लेकर अभी भी वो एक अवेयरनेस बढ़ता जा रहा है. सो नाउ पीपल हैव स्टार्टेड कंज्यूमिंग देम इवन मोर. आई डोंट थिंक आज से 5-6 साल पहले इतना ज़्यादा था. दैट इज समथिंग दैट आई मिस, बट I think if today done well, it can reach out to a larger audience in general. So yeah, PR does play a very important role. I don't think we were able to do that very well back in the day.
So
So
you
yeah.
spoke about theaters, but now the world is, as we see it, it's
Yeah, yeah,
OTT.
yeah.
So how do you view OTT platforms? And again, if as a storyteller or as a script writer, whatever you want to approach, how these OTT platform, is it easier than approaching the studios, or how is it?
So, as far as approaching an OTT is concerned, with telling your own story, it's not very easy, I would say. See, the reason for that is basically बहुत लोग हैं. It's not that only one person wants to make a film for a Netflix, for example. बहुत लोग हैं.
True.
जो थिएटर में जितने लोग रिलीज करना चाहते थे आज वो सारे लोग जो है वो नेटफ्लिक्स के लिए फिल्म बना रहे हैं.
Yes.
एंड it's become sort of a new movement altogether, right?
Right.
So the competitions and challenges those were there in making a film वो अब भी है. एक्सेसिबिलिटी पुरानी फिल्मों की हाँ वो ज्यादा है. वर्ल्ड सिनेमा हाँ आज वो मैं ज्यादा देख सकता हूँ. लाइक आई डोंट रियली नीड
Right.
टू वेट फॉर टॉरेंट टू get a film or something. I can watch it, you know, and they're not very expensive either. Like I can watch really good cinema at my home in my TV. कि हाँ यार ये बढ़िया लग रहा है, कुछ भी कभी भी कुछ भी देखने का मन किया हमने देख लिया उसको। लाइक आई थिंक वो एक ओटीटी का बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है, बट एज फार एज अप्रोचिंग फॉर अ स्टोरी इज कंसर्न, इट्स इट इज दैट डिफिकल्ट ओनली। मतलब वो इतना आसान नहीं हो गया है कि यू कैन जस्ट गो टू अ प्लेटफॉर्म एंड से कि यार हमारे पास ये फिल्म है बना लो। द अदर वे ऑफ डूइंग इट इज एक्चुअली मेकिंग योर फिल्म एंड देन सेलिंग इट टू प्लेटफॉर्म,
Hmm.
एक्विजिशन का जो मेथड होता है। बट आई एम नॉट रियली श्योर दैट how that works. Like I don't suggest it for newcomers for
Okay.
sure. No, it's not. It's an absolute no for newcomers. वो पैसा मत फंसाओ अपना उसमें, because you don't really know when it's going to go, what will happen. So don't really block your money in that. Rather wait for some time, get a contact,
Hmm.
get a proper studio executive to do your stuff, and then you can approach a platform accordingly. So I think it's very, पहले बात तो ना पेशेंस रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है। आई थिंक वो नहीं रहेगा तो it becomes a very difficult journey. You have to be very patient. Like this is something which I learned from Siddharth Sid Roy Kapoor. He's so patient यार, कितना आराम से ना दुनिया इधर की उधर, he's so patient, calm, understanding. He does that. So that is something I learned. It's a process that takes time. It's not something which is शुरू में कि यार हो गया। It takes its own time. You have to do it आराम से। So it is that difficult. It will remain to be so, but it's just that थोड़ा patience से आराम से काम करेंगे तो होएगा, थोड़ा धीरे धीरे होगा, but it will happen. And everybody is looking out for great stories. Like if you have something really out of the box, something really mind blowing, वो बन जाता है फटाक से।
Hmm.
So that is something, that's a challenge that young creators have to face, कि they have to come up with really something really sharp and snappy and say कि यार एक लाइन में बिक गई कहानी, खत्म। You don't need to really uh, scratch your head into that. So
Great.
yeah.
Yeah. So now, yeah, we have 10 minutes, 10 minutes left.
Hmm.
Um, do you want to ask anything? And then after that, we'll go to audience for questions.
यार अबे बहुत सारा था। I forgot. I just went back into, like, it's I can't even call it nostalgia. Yeah, it's like 3 years back, 3 4 years back. I can't even say कि gone back to the days. But yeah, but is it like you have been an angel investor? You have been your own. You have started your own stuff for so long. you know what is that thing that keeps you going? Like, you have this particular idea कि यार हर idea तो successful नहीं हो सकता होगा। Like I'm sure there would have been some which have failed also, I don't know।
Yeah, a lot.
yeah, so it's a process। So for us I know कि यार एक film बन गई, अगले Friday दूसरी आ जाएगी। Like it's easier to move on because every film is sort of that new business thing for us। But how do you do it? Like somebody, if there is something, एक idea है, it just didn't work out, how what keeps you going in that sense?
Uh, so the most important part has been wherein I learned that ideas don't matter at all. So it's not the idea,
Okay.
really. What so ideas it's not that you can really say that this is an idea which failed or idea which succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, idea probably is just maybe 0.1% of it.
Yeah.
I'll say what happens is really, yes, it's the team which will make it a failure or a success, and it's actually the teams. It's not the idea. The team, if there is a team, yeah, which is strong, which is there, which is motivated, really driven to do something, you give even a shitty idea, or I'll say that team just decides to pick up any random thing, that team will succeed actually. Yeah, because they will start with something, they will keep experimenting, they will change, and they'll do everything, and that's how they'll ultimately, because they are uh, responsive in terms of looking at, okay, what works, what doesn't work. Yeah, and they're not married to an idea. The moment you get married to an idea, which you mentioned earlier in your conversation, that मुझे ऐसा ही करना है,
Yeah.
yeah. The day you start thinking on that line, then of course you are going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, how, so for me, for somebody like me, getting a team was as simple as going to a theater and having few friends and we just starting to make our own stuff. How do you create a professional team? Like you, how where do you get people? Like are they your college friends? Are they your are these people? How do you identify that right team? Because ultimately, if that is what matters in success or failure, like you have to really pick and choose. How do you, what where do you get them? Like how do you do that?
True. So I can claim that yeah, I have tried a lot of things there. So yes, I have started up with my friends. I have while starting while building a team, I have picked up apparently random people like who I didn't know at all or didn't even have a reference or they were not even so I am from IIT, but I definitely have a bias. I accept it. I have a bias for IITians because yeah, I've seen it work for me, but I have been able to build teams wherein people were from colleges whose name nobody even knew, or these guys who, of course, I put a lot of emphasis on communication and everything. But that said, I have had people who could barely speak Hindi, forget English.
Yeah.
Yeah, and still, I see what matters most is the same thing, that the belief is there. One, the belief on the so in this case I'll say that yeah, the vision that I gave, maybe that yeah, we have to do something. So my motivation has always been that I have to build a technology powerhouse from India. I really want India to leap ahead in terms of making real technology products from India. And I was able to find such crazy people who believe in the same thing. So one is that belief. Second is belief on oneself. That confidence that yes, you can do if you really believe that. So again, what you mentioned, that doesn't matter where you are coming from, a small place. In fact, it might be better that you are coming from a small place or everything. As long as you are confident that yes, it's not something which you can't do, or it's not something which you can't learn, pick up and do. Yeah, then if you have that confidence, I see it that's what has mattered, because everything that we have done as teams in my earlier teams as well, I have been crazy enough to dream up things which a lot of people always laughed at, and in fact now I measure it by that degree itself. If people are not laughing at your idea initially, if they are not ridiculing, if they are not really telling you you're crazy, why are you doing it,
It's
then
not good.
probably your idea itself isn't worth
It's not
really.
good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you see the connect comes in. In fact, me with Super Pro team itself, that's how the connect happened.
Hmm.
My other founders, these guys. So there's we are as different as you could be. Of course, the founders, two of the founders are from IT itself,
Yeah.
but then it's like there are at least 10 years of difference. When I came out of IIT and when these guys came out of IIT, then we have a fourth founder, Sagar, who's
Uh-huh.
my age, but is completely as different as you could imagine,
Hmm.
right? He hasn't done engineering. He is a lawyer. He studied law, then became a geek, learned coding, and then went in sales and everything. Right. So we are as different as we could be, but the connect was again same, that we just connected over this thought. One, that yes, it can be done. Yeah,
So
and
what's the if I may ask, what's the core thought of a super pro AI? Like for example, if we're
yeah.
talking about this particular startup of yours,
So
what is
here, what we believe is now, given this has been, COVID has been a disruptor. It's
yeah.
been a really big push. But what is happening? This is something which I can say. Yeah, I've been looking at trends. It has been very clear to me that yes, what is happening today, I was sure this will happen. But the time frame was different. In my mind, it was okay. Maybe it will take couple of years, 3 years before people really start getting so comfortable with video and actively avoid physical meetings.
got
And
it.
for all practical matters, they realize, yes, you don't really need to physically meet if you want to get work done. But of course, at a certain time, yes, you would meet physically, but then you don't need to start with that. Yeah, you
Okay.
can
Yeah.
probably have a physical meeting whereas something is still very special, maybe, I don't know. But for all practical matters, video is enough. So that's where we thought that if it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what is it that people are going to need. So what I say is, video call is the new workspace. Yeah.
Correct.
Because if you are anybody who is able to, so if you are in consulting, if you are in training,
Yeah.
if you are an expert, influencer, even celebrities now, everybody is on video. Everybody is doing what, Zoom or Meet or whatever. And we realized when people are now trying to adopt video seriously, yeah, more I'll say for business,
Hmm.
it what's happening is, if you look around all of these tools which you're using right now, so Zoom or Meet, these tools are not meant for delivering your services really. These were simple, and they still say the same thing. These are video conferencing tools.
Correct.
It's just for a meeting. Now, when you think of delivering your service, yeah, there is more that you are going to need. And that is where we thought, yes, it's going to be a complete tool set, a suite of tools which people are going to need. For example, on Super Pro, we have just made it simple that, yes, you don't need to manually schedule things. People can come, really just book you, so your calendar is open. So you don't need to call a person, email a person asking, oh, when are you available? Oh,
Hmm.
I'm not available at this time. Can we try some other time? That itself eats up a lot of time and effort. And of course, if you think from a business perspective, that's where you lose business as well. Yeah.
Got
Somebody
it.
who had something in mind and wanted to talk today, yeah, but was unable to get in touch with you, you have lost out on that business.
Correct.
Probably that person won't be interested in you tomorrow. It happens.
Got
And
it.
again, conversations are something which drive conversions, and that's what it's innate nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Selling, at least in case of services wherein we are talking about consulting, training, and all of it, you won't get that confidence, yeah, till you talk to that person. Like, very simple, unless I speak to you, yeah, it's very difficult for me to say, okay, how can Sampat help me in that session that he's talking about? Will he be
Yeah.
really able to? Does Sampat even know what am I struggling with? And this is where, yeah. So you do, you get an opportunity wherein you have a 10-15 minute free session which you offer to people. They call you up, and then you are able to tell them about your session. Yeah.
Got it.
Or
Yeah.
maybe you take a webinar just like this Pro Talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
just like, you are able to tell people, see guys, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going to benefit you in my session. So come join me. So this just simple tools, yeah. So this itself saves a lot of time and effort for people. And then there's all about payment collections, so no follow up for payments. Then you have automated emails, and the biggest thing is, yes, you have video call integrated here, so you don't need to manually uh, figure out, हाँ मुझे Zoom का link किसको भेजना, इसको भी भेजना, इसको भी भेजना, अरे मैंने गलत link भेज दिया. And that happens a lot now. Yeah. So we take care of everything. We automate parts of it, and going forward, the vision is simple. We want to really enable each and every independent professionals who is trying to sell and deliver their services online by all the tools that they will ever need. Yeah, so that they are able to save the small bits and pieces of time which add up to hours and days ultimately. Yeah, and they are able to focus on simply doing what they do best. Yeah, talk on the video. So that's been the
So what fascinated me about the entire thing was when I read its online visiting card. It's a yeah. It's called something like that, right?
yes, yes,
Right.
yes. So that's in fact what the team is now. So this came again from few users themselves. When we are telling them that you get a page, it has a video, and people said, oh, it's like an online business card, virtual business card, and we were like, okay, this is interesting. So more and more people are now talking about it, and that's where now actually what we are just probably in next couple of days, what we are going to do is when you share your Super Pro page link, and so it's like we will give you a, 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 a snapshot which looks very much
Like a
like
card,
a business
like a
card.
business card. Correct.
Yeah,
Got it.
and it
Got it.
has your link where people can simply just call you, book a call with you. It has everything, and probably so it will have, of course, have your video as well, or your picture. Yeah, so people can see, oh, this is Sampath, and this is what I can, I can simply just click and book his session. Yeah.
So yeah, this was something we did with our card in back in the day. We had a QR thing. Like
QR,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
card which comes with that QR. So I was actually wondering if that is one of the things. Like you will have a QR where you link
yeah,
Super Pro and the other links, and then you just
yeah,
give it to us, and we can put it in our own visiting cards in the future. Like
yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, QR is also one of the things which the team is saying, but then we realize that right now,
Right now it's
yeah, nobody is going to print really.
not the best thing
So,
to do. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so right now we are just coming up with something which is easier for WhatsApp. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that card thing will really, add up to something. It's fun.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. We'll take some questions. We'll see if there are any questions. Um, what is so Amish is asking what is important for script writing, the storyline or dialogue structure?
See, it's the Amish is still here. I don't.
He'll be, I think. Yeah.
He's not here. Yeah. So, what was it again? Two things.
What
Storyline
is
or
important for script writing? The storyline or dialogue structure?
see, it's the story. Basically, it's the story. Once you have the story in place, then the dialogues just comes in because a story will constitute of a basic outline of what you want to write. Then there will be characters in that story, and the characters would rather dictate the dialogues. It's not really a story that dictates it. It's more the way the characters are talking to each other. So I think if you have your storyline in place, if you have that story document in place, dialogues come way later. Like it's actually the last stage of writing.
Okay.
Dialogue is not even the first stage of writing; it's the last stage of writing. You have your story, you have your synopsis, you have your first draft ready, then you have your basically that screenplay, ka first draft, second draft, third draft, and then the dialogue drafts are. So I think it's a very later thing to have. It's not something that you have in the very beginning. Storyline, of course, it's the most important because that is the base of your screenplay. So yeah,
And Sampath, all of it that you have mentioned right now, you are going to cover these in the
I would.
sessions, right? If,
So,
if
so,
people book
so
you.
yeah. So I'll tell you why I have chosen this session for my Super Pro talks,
Mm.
and the sessions that I'll be having in the future. See, what happens is everybody has a great story. Like everybody has their own personal story which they want to share with people, saying कि हाँ यार मुझे लगता है बहुत अच्छी फिल्म है. So what is exactly that you're going wrong with? Why is that story still with you? That is going to be my prerogative कि यार आओ एक बार देखे तो सही कि is that your story? How are you going to pitch it to somebody who will take it? How are you going
Right.
to present that story in a way that it actually gets made? Because you might have a fascinating story in your head, and most of the screenplay writing workshops will teach you that. They'll teach you how to write a mind-blowing screenplay. What they'll not teach is how it's actually the last chapter of most of the screenplay courses. ये commercial of screenplay writing क्या होता है? How do you pitch? How do you actually approach a producer? Whom do you approach? Like I can't go to the CEO of Disney saying कि मेरे पास एक script है ये करो. That's not the way.
Right.
There is a certain hierarchy. There are certain people you have to go to कि भाई ये आप ले जाओगे तब मैं फिल्म बना पाऊंगा अपनी. That is what I want to cover. You just can't go to the most the top most CEO level person saying कि मेरे पास एक script है बना दो. Until and unless you are a established director, you can't just do that. So when you are starting, it's very important to know that whom to go to, how do you pitch your stories, and what is that minimum. Some people write a complete screenplay, महीना साल लगा देते हैं अपना, and then they go to a producer, वो मना कर देते हैं, they feel disheartened. नहीं, वो उतने की जरूरत नहीं है आपको. देयर इज समथिंग उसके पहले कुछ चीजें जो आप पिच कर सकते हो लोगों को. where they can commission you, where you're actually getting paid for writing a screenplay. So
Interesting.
you don't really have to jump into that saying कि no, I've got this mind blowing story, I'll start writing this screenplay. I've got friends who have written 12 screenplays और कहीं पिच नहीं हो रहे. Like वाला story पे करते पिच तो बच जाते ना.
Hmm.
Like people are not interested in that story at this, because see, by the time अभी ना time इतना जल्दी जल्दी change होता है ना. Now today you're doing something, tomorrow it might just go stale. यार अब हो गया, अभी ये कोविड का टाइम आ गया, अभी हम नहीं कर सकते.
Yeah.
Like now, especially from these last 6-7 months, we have understood कि time ज़्यादा जल्दी change होने लग गया. So it's important that you get your commissioning, get your this thing well in advance, saying कि gauge the interest well in advance, saying कि हाँ यार हम इसमें interested रहेंगे. Once you have that security, then go ahead with it. Don't unnecessarily just slog. Why do that? Right? So it's not required. That is what I want to actually share with in all my sessions. How do you do that? How do you pitch it?
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Okay. So yeah. Anything? No. Great. So yeah, we can close the session now. I think
Sure.
so
Thank
much
you, Gaurav.
time.
Thank you. It was great. Lovely talking with you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Uh,
Thanks to you, Sampat, for being there, and
yeah.
thanks to everybody who is still there with us, and thanks to all of you who will be watching this on YouTube again, the
Yeah.
recorded version.
Super.
And please remember, you can book Sampat for a session on Super Pro. The link will be mentioned in the chat, as well as it will be there in the YouTube description. Remember to check it out. And yes, this is your time. You can get started with a conversation, with Sampath, and learn how to go about it. So thanks a lot,
Thank
all
you.
of you.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Take
you.
care. Good
Bye.
night.
Good night. See
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.